Yeah.
Morning.
Hey, honey. Mike.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Hello, sisters. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is so great to see your faces.
Showed you when I said your name on it.
I'm going to put you on gallery view. Where is everyone? Where is everyone? I'm trying to find the chat box and I can't actually find it. Where is it?
Oh, people from all over. We have Russia, we have the Netherlands, Ohio, South Africa, Montana, London, the UK, Sedona, Mexico, Germany, Washington, Arizona, North Carolina, Italy.
Global Sisterhood commence. Yes. It's so wonderful to have you all here. If if you're not on mute, to make this experience really enjoyable and smooth, if you could mute yourself in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a little mute button. You can click it and you want a red dash through it. And if you can, share with us your video if you're not moving around and you want to be present here with us to really hold the container of this experience. You can turn on your video camera by the button next to it. You can say start video. And so if you want to sit in with us, come to circle with us, be present with us, really encourage you to show your face, your beautiful face. And it's such an honor that you're here. It's so incredible, the power of technology to connect like-minded hearts together. And much like Sarah Drew's book, which we will be talking about, we have our beautiful guest, Sarah Drew, here today, and her amazing visionary novel of the Gaia Codex. And much like her novel, the sisters, the priestesses found each other. These sisters of multi-generations reincarnated in a time, and they found each other again. And it feels like that today. It feels like we're all vibrating with a certain frequency, and we're all here together to have an deep discussion about the times we're living in and about how we can use our feminine gifts and our sisterhood to really help this time, this planet evolve. And so to begin today, let's go ahead and close our eyes, and we'll do a presencing and a meditation to really cultivate a safe container and a powerful container for us to do this work today together. So getting comfortable. And again, if you're not on mute, go ahead and mute yourself in the left-hand corner. And let's all take some big, nourishing deep breaths together. And exhaling out of the mouth. If your day has been busy, you want to release some frenetic energy, just go ahead and take a deep breath. And let out a sigh. Sometimes in the beginning of big virtual experiences, it's important to ground the energetic frequency. So let's go ahead and feel our bodies root deeply into the earth. Allowing us to take deep breaths, making contact with the earth below us. It's as if we have a three-pronged plug coming from our two sit bones and our tailbones, anchoring us into the earth. And allow yourself to feel your feet, to feel your energetic cord that goes to the earth. Imagining moist earth below you, and our roots sinking deep into our Mother Earth. And as our roots sink deep within the soil, we can energetically connect with each woman that is in this circle, each woman that was called here today. Like mycelium networks, we are connected, rooted through the earth, wherever we are in the world. We are energetically one, we are connected. So go ahead and feel and appreciate this sisterhood, this unity. And while breathing into the heart and feeling yourself rooted, let's tap into the heart coherence with all of our sisters that are on this call. As we allow ourselves to soften in the heart, we can feel the beauty and the love and the power that's here within this circle of women. And notice as you breathe into the heart and as you tune into the vibration of love, we soften naturally, we let go naturally. And from this state, we can envision now, using our creative intelligence, that we are all coming out of a clearing in the woods into a beautiful field. And in this field, there is a beautiful temple of some kind, a sanctuary. Go ahead and see this beautiful temple in your mind. This is a non-denominational temple, a temple where all are welcome. And this is where we get to gather as sisters in a safe place to have deep conversations about humanity and about ourselves. So let's imagine ourselves filing into this temple. And as we enter through these beautiful giant doors, we see a beautiful, beautiful open space with candles and beautiful flowers. And we go ahead and we circle together. We find our place in the circle. And as we find our place in the circle, we prepare ourselves to hold space, to hold non-judgmental space, to be open-minded, and to really think for ourselves, to take whatever is said here today and feel what feels right for us and leave the rest. Creating a safe space for sharing, a safe space for powerful ideas to be transmuted, transmissed. I want to say transmission, a beautiful transmission. And from this space, we connect now to the heavens. We take a deep breath up our spine. And we acknowledge the sun, the moon, and the stars. And as we exhale, we bring that essence through our bodies and back towards the earth as channels of light, as channels of truth, as channels of love. And with that, we can place our hands on our heart, coming back to the room you're in, while knowing that we've created a safe space here today for a beautiful conversation, so for healing to take place, for revelation to take place. And we can gently blink open our eyes. And we welcome you to this circle, sisters. Thank you so much for being here. It's really, truly an honor. And it's an honor to have our guest today. And so I will pass the talking stick over to Shayna, and we'll talk a little bit about Global Sisterhood, and for those of you who don't know, and about Sarah Drew.
Thank you, Lauren, for that beautiful meditation. And welcome from all over the world. It's so nice to feel all of you. It's so powerful. My heart's beating because I feel in coherence with all of your spirits. And it feels so timely to have all of you here from around the world. As all of you know, we are going through a global transformation of sorts. This is unlike anything we've ever experienced in any of our lifetimes. And because of that, we have choices. And the Global Sisterhood, this is the Global Sisterhood. This is what it is. It's women coming together to share truth with one another. And that is just being who you are in your essence. And the more of us that are able to do that, the more of us that are able to connect and share in sisterhood and really honor ourselves in the circle and honor each other is how we create change. And so Lauren and I run the Global Sisterhood movement. And then there's so many women that carry on this movement in their hometowns, wherever they are. We have women all over the world that are participating. And so this call, this experience, this coming together is the Global Sisterhood. So thank you for being here. And today, our honorary member of the Global Sisterhood, Sarah Drew, is joining us. And so I want to share a little bit about Sarah, but also about our experience in finding her work and how it's really touched us, because if you've read the book, it really ignites a part of you that seems to have been forgotten. And I know as Lauren and I read the book only a few months ago, it was like this reawakening of a part of our spirit that had been dormant. And I think that really speaks to Sarah, her depth, her ability to explore all sorts of traditions and religions and weave a tapestry of beauty around the feminine and our past and our future. Her ability to dream and transpire and move content from her dream space into the heart of the readers is really a gift. And so it's such an honor to have her here today. We read her book a few months ago, and a few days later, I was put on a WhatsApp thread, and Sarah was on the thread. And so I quickly messaged her and was like, Sarah, I just read your book. It was amazing, changed my life. And fast forward, here we are. So it was kind of a coincidence of sorts. You believe in those sorts of things. So it's so great. And getting to know Sarah and just communicating with her over these past 3 weeks, everything she creates is beauty. From the emoji she uses to the way she sends emails, there's such a deep sense of presence. And she's a true artist. She creates from this lush place in order to serve. And so I'm so excited to have her here today. I'm so excited for you guys all to be here to witness this conversation that we're going to have around awakening the feminine during these times, and also the power of sisterhood, the power of coming together and seeing ourselves in community. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Sarah to just give us a brief overview of Gaia Codex, and maybe if there's anything else she wants to share in this moment, and then we're gonna ask her some questions today. So thank you.
Wow.
Hello, Sarah.
Hello. I'm so honored to be with all of us here together at this moment in history. I feel this is something that many of us have known in our bones, known in our heart, known in our soul. And I think many of us have been carrying this knowing of our ancient feminine lineages, of our destiny to come together in times of evolution, times of change on the planet. I think many of us have been carrying this sometimes for many lifetimes, but definitely perhaps we can just go to the heart of carrying it through this lifetime. And we're really at this historic moment right now, which I think we're all feeling, where we have the ability to birth the world anew. And this in many ways is the story of the Gaia Codex. It's about lineage of women, the priestesses of Astera, that through the rise and fall of cultures hold regeneration codes for the planet. And in times of crises, they come together to birth the world anew. When I wrote the book, it was set in a future moment, and I feel that we're closer to that moment right now. And I'm just very honored to be here, and to be here with the Global Sisterhood. It feels like such a resonant match, and it really, truly feels destined for us to come together. And I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you.
Sarah, I want to share with you that I agree about the resonant match. And when Global Sisterhood first started, what you said, they come together in times of crisis to birth anew. Totally the vision. That's what it was. It was just like, wow. And this is pre-Me Too movement, all of this eruption of the trauma that women have been holding in, the shame women have been holding in.
Yeah.
And so the nature of women coming together in circles is to remember the power to heal, to shed, and then to birth anew. We literally do birth the next generations, and we have the capacity to help the world evolve generation by generation. And I want to ask you, what was that? Where did the vision come from in your own life? What have you seen, experienced? I know some people have been feeling like they've been waiting for a time like this for a while, and I can say the same. But what is it? What is it in your experience that brought you to seeing what you see? You're truly a visionary.
Yeah, I think, the first echoes for me was really as a child. There was this sense that this particular life, there'd be something extraordinary that would happen in the future, that there'd be a gathering with those that I loved, and we would do something revolutionary, evolutionary for the world. And, this was a child's knowing and a child's dream at that time. So those were the first glimmers, I think, for myself personally. As far as for the book, I wrote down the prologue to the book, probably about 20 years ago. And it was just this, as when we create, you get these downloads, right? So it just came down almost exactly as it was published, about this ancient lineage of women that were holding and caretakers for the codex itself. And the codex, the Gaia Codex, is several things. It's the 6 billion year history and knowledge of our planet in all its evolutionary states, and our connection and ability as sentient life to connect to it. And it's also the story of women and the lineages of women in all different forms that have existed on the planet. So the lineages of the sacred feminine, of the goddess.
How do you connect with the Gaia Codex? What practices do you use to remember that ancient wisdom within our DNA, within us?
Oh, I don't know, run naked through the woods, skinny dip, contact and be out with her as much as possible, in the real visceral sense. I tend to, I tend to travel a lot etherically, kind of into the past, present, and future. So the way my mind works is very visionary in terms of the listening to what those are. And, this is, something I just want to add. I think really one of the great moments of this time is our realization as women that each of us have a voice for that. Each of us have our distinct form of the earth, of the goddess, of her wisdom coming through. And for it to really flower, it's all of us coming together and all of us expressing it. So, I feel fortunate to be the midwife of this book and to have the opportunity to write it. But what I love about this moment is that all of us here, and thousands of women, and I hope millions and perhaps billions of women, are remembering that they too are voices, and that there's, 4 billion ways, 8 billion ways, even if we go into sentient life, to express that. And that's one of the ways that I think we can regenerate and remember.
Yeah, I think that was one of the most powerful things that I took away. There was a distinct moment when I realized that I had a face of the goddess, and that all of my sisters and brothers, even too, like that we express the divine. And so if you guys want to take a moment and go on gallery view and just looking at all the other women that are here and really seeing that in each other's faces, really feeling that we are all carrying an expression of the goddess, of Gaia, of the Great Mother. And so it's such a good remembering when we interact with others. So good to see all your faces.
Yeah, there's the sense of Mahadeve, right? You know, the 1,000 arms of the goddesses, the 1,000 face, the 1,000 being infinite. And we are her. You know, it's not women, but it's all of us in our sisterhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lauren and I work a lot on the voice within Global Sisterhood. It's actually our theme coming up for next month. And it seems like more important now than ever for women to come into their truth and be able to like use their voice. Did you ever have any moments where you felt, I can relate to sometimes feeling shame around using my voice or feeling like something's not perfect. I'm wondering if you had those moments in like preparing to release Gaia Codex and during the process as well.
I think like one of my big learning points, and you know, we're constantly evolving, so there's there's more on the docket right now, but I think in reclaiming my voice, I went through the initiations of anger and rage, and there was, you know, astrologically I have a lot of fire in my system, so fire is powerful, as we know, but for me it was a rage of it felt like eons of just having to hold truths silent. And the metabolization of that and really stemming it into creative work was a big initiation for me personally. And I think it's, you know, it's one of the collective ones of our era. Hopefully our daughters and our nieces and those that follow us won't have that volcanic explosive rage. It doesn't come up for me that much now. I mean, you know, certainly sadness, or you can look at a lot of world events, but that personal uncontrollable rage has been transmuted. That's how it was for me. And the flip side of that, of course, is sorrow and pain, right?
I really relate to what you're sharing, Sarah. I'm sure every woman on this call, I want to make a generalization and an assumption that we can relate. And the voice and the keeping truth, the truth unspoken, I really want to just hit on that for a moment, because I feel like that is a theme that we encounter a lot with our community, and I have definitely encountered with myself. Even today I did a tapping session for me around the fear of danger if I speak my truth that might be unpopular, my truth, the vision that I have for the world, what I see, calling out the shadows, speaking the truths that I've been holding, probably for beyond this life and in this life, you know. And I feel like that is definitely something that has stifled my ability to create in some ways. And I'm still working through it so that I can show up really authentically and use my voice. And I feel like there's so much talent and wisdom within women. Especially, I see this with our global sisterhood, our facilitator community, and all of the women. I just see just oozing wisdom, just so much. But the contraction, the fear of, you know, maybe it stems from persecution, maybe it's just because women have had a certain place in society, that we're still healing that wound. But wanted to ask you, how did you really heal and transmute the rage? Because almost you have to like let the rage out to block the voice, to like move the block. And then obviously you find the grief and the sorrow, and then you can express more from the heart, all of that. But what did you do to really liberate your creative genius and your authentic voice?
I think for me, it was interesting. A lot of that rage didn't really land into Gaia Codex itself. And I really got, when I was writing it, that it was supposed to be a transmission of peace and harmonization and hope and healing. I was working a lot with my teachers in Eastern Tibet. And so there's many edits of taking a lot of that material out, because I feel our way forward is to really have compassion, for ourselves, for those that have we feel that have harmed us, for those that have harmed the Mother Earth, and to certainly take on the forms of the warrioress within that. I worked a lot with Kali, the goddess Kali, and Durga, which, as you know, expresses a power and a divine rage. But you go through that personal knots of our own samskaras to be able to express her clarity. And she's, these goddesses are at the heart of our love. So, for my own process, it was forgiveness and understanding our interconnectedness. In the Buddhist tradition, everyone's been our mother, everyone's been our father. And if there's anger, it's ultimately within ourselves. And it's not that I don't get angry, but I'm not the victim of my rages.
Beautiful. I've also heard that we have all murdered and been murdered as well. We've all experienced that, which really puts into perspective the people who we feel rage for or disappointment for in our lives, and how we can have compassion for the pain that begets more pain. So that brings me to a question before I let Shana ask some questions. The nature of these times, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, but there's also so much possibility. There's also so much potential. I want to talk about that potential and what we can do to really cultivate that potential first in ourselves and then emanate it.
I have to say that when this particular cycle started and we went into lockdown, I just felt a big exhale. And there's compassion, of course, for those that are immediately suffering in so many ways, in health and in economic situations. But in terms of the Mother Earth, in terms of a great turning and a transmutation of our current socioeconomic world and structures, I felt that Mother Gaia was giving us a very gentle tap and saying, okay, you can course correct. I felt that it's almost like we're in Borges's The Garden of Forking Paths, and we have the chance here to really come together and chart the course. And there's so many people. I'm noticing that Nina Simons, who's the co-founder of Bioneers, her group, that where there's so many people that have come before me, and many of us here that have spent decades laying the groundwork for the type of society and this type of world that we can create. And I think it's just, we bring it into action. And what we can do as the feminine is we can activate it. And these circles in the global sisterhood, we can actually fertilize it and make it real, and make it as like this web, like you were saying, the mycelial web across the globe of these circles. And I really, it's time. This is our moment to do that. And we've been seeing it off there in the horizon, but now we're right there in the center pulse.
I have chills.
Yeah, for me, it feels so timely. And I so relate to you, Sarah, with the fire and feeling like fire rising within me, like in this moment, like through my voice, activating something so it can come out. And I offer that to all the women on the call, because we all have something that's so important to share from our own experience. And I remember when I worked a corporate job before I came to Global Sisterhood, and there was this crazy knowing that I started to have that basically none of my colleagues and even myself, we hadn't read books written by women. And like in all the different disciplines that, you know, like business and the different biology and these books, they were written by men. And how interesting that was, that so much of our society and culture was shaped by men. And we know this, but then to have been ingesting literature predominantly by men for most of my life, and realizing that as a woman, you have to walk an uncharted path a lot of times. And so what does that mean for women now in this time where you're ready to activate, you're ready to take a step forward, but you might be the only one on that path. But what's nice about that is that you do have community, you do have other sisters that are walking onto their paths too. And so while we might not be on the same path, there's kind of this is camaraderie in the like deeper knowing and wisdom that we have guiding us individually to continue to have the courage to keep doing it. And I know that's been true for me. But maybe, Sarah, we can talk about ways, you know, being a creator and speaking up, like how you maintain confidence and clarity. Like I know for me, like now I have a personal practice of, you know, meditating and connecting to something greater than myself and to serve. And so it's not about me anymore.
That's the beginning, right? that's the end. Yeah, it's not about us. And it is that, again, like in the Buddhist tradition, that bodhisattvic vow that to the best of our abilities, we're here to benefit all sentient beings through time and in past times. You know, I feel too that realization that we have these deep roots into, once the streams, once the connection to the wisdom of our forebearers, of the wisdom of the women that have come before, of the wisdom of the earth, of the wisdom of the indigenous peoples. And, you know, I say this tenderly, you know, at one point, all of us here come from people who are from the land. And it's in our genetics, and it's in our spiritual DNA, if you will. And our ability to start connecting back to that wisdom that has been born over generations. There's been a lot of disconnect in our current culture, but it's something that I think, especially together or when we're in the creative space, that it can be reactivated and we can connect to that. And that gives us a sense of being in a timeless stream, maybe for parts of the day, right? I have an ongoing meditation practice that I've done for decades now, and that gives us a pause point so that when we go back into the stream of our lives, we can always reference that space. And it's really wonderful to do it in circle with others. And a circle can be 2 people or 3 people or 4 people or hundreds like we are today.
Really is so powerful to be in circle with women and to have that space, that sacred space of safety to express and to practice expressing what our feelings are, what's happening with us, and then to go into those spaces and cultivate those spaces of, I like what you said, that you have this meditation practice, right? And so throughout the day you can tap back into that state. It's almost like cultivating that state so much as a part of ourselves that we're able to jump between the 2 of them like that. Mm-hmm. I love altars for that reason, because my altar, Shayna had sat at my altar the other day for the first time, and she was like, whoa, I can tell you've been meditating here for a while. I go there and I go in, and it's like that. It's my little vortex for me to find the temple of my heart. And I wanted to ask this question. The title of this conversation, this experiential event, is called We Are Made for These Times. Mm. And I feel that about myself. With all tenderness as well, and with all seriousness, when this happened, I was like, this is what I'm here for. This is why we've been building global sisterhood. This is the point. This is it. Like, this is a moment when the whole world is reflecting. Yeah. What have we done wrong? What could we do better? And I hope that people are looking internally, and I do believe more people than usual are. And so for all of us, I believe every one of us on this call, we're not so new to practices or meditation. A lot of us have been on this path before a while. So there's a responsibility I feel we have. And it's like Shayna saying, she centers herself by being of service, right? Being of service, not just helping to be liked or helping to be adored, but really being a channel of service. And that might mean being silent, that might mean speaking, that might mean whatever that looks like. But I really wanted to just kind of invite us to talk about that, because my hope is that each woman who's here or is watching that really walks away feeling like, yeah, I am made for these times. I'm here to help, and I have all the tools I need, and I have this community. So I wanted to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I completely resonate. I see, like each of us has this seed inside of us, right? You can say it's our dharma, you can say it's bodhicitta, our potential to be a Buddha in human form. It's our life's paths. It's the fulfillment of what we're here to do. And when we plant that seed in the field of service to other beings and to all life, we start to really draw upon the interconnection with Mother Gaia and with life itself and with all other beings as well. And I think the understanding of our interconnectedness, of that popping open the seed, and I see so many of us right now, it's like when a seed, it has its husk, right? And inside is like an acorn, is an oak tree, and right now it's like popping open, and the sprout is coming up, and this beautiful forest is growing. And it may be dropping its own seeds decades from now, but we're spreading and deepening our roots. And I'm so thankful to be alive and to be part of this, and to be part of this great movement that we are bringing together as women and as a species.
Yeah, I love in the book how you talk about like Lila Sophia. It's like she's a new technology, right? There's a aspect of technology that comes along with this heightened empathy that she feels. In some ways, I think of it like empathy, because she's able to really embody different beings within herself. And I think in part that's kind of what's happening to us now. And I think for a long time we've been like that, but that technology feels so real. As I was reading that experience in the book, when you guys read it, or if you've read it already, every day she becomes a different woman. And so, like, think about how crazy that would be. But in some ways, as women, we do that anyway. We meet someone on the street and we take in their energy, and we're doing that constantly. But it's caused me to think a lot about just different technologies in general. And like a technology like this, a technology like Zoom, how powerful this is, that we can all come together and share in this experience. And I know amongst the spiritual community, there's sometimes desire to want to like hate on technology, but there's so much beauty that can come from dreaming a way for technology to merge with nature, for it to really be in resonance with a higher purpose, to connect us all and to share love. And I'm curious about how you think about technology, and as we move forward and use that to build new systems.
It's a great question, because I come out of the technology space many lifetimes ago, i.e. in the 90s. I was the CEO of an early virtual reality company. And I think at this point, I feel all technologies come out of consciousness. And so our job is to really cultivate our own consciousness, our own awakenedness, our own lucidness, so that what other technologies we're bringing into our reality, into the planet, is born with a conscious intent. I think we're seeing many technologies that right now are not maybe in and of themselves evil, or some of them are, in terms of their extraction from the earth, but they've been born without consciousness. And so we're seeing some of the results that we're seeing right now as societally. I think our job is to be as awake and as clear as possible. And then I think technologies can be a great tool. I think we need to move away from technologies that are earth extractive of resources, not even calling them resources, that are raping the earth. We have to do that right now. Full stop, right?
Yeah, thank you for that. I remember reading that about you, and I think it's such a gift that you have to be able to merge both of the worlds. And Lauren and I call that being a world bridger. And I think that's a really powerful skill set to have in these times. And I bet all of you on this call have that. It's the ability to both come within and also to be of the world, and to spread the messages that you find within with others, and through the different ways that you choose to interact and to work, whatever your dharma is. So Lauren, do you have any more questions, or should we open it up?
I have one more question before we open it up, because the technology question was just really, really interesting. But I want to talk about the technology of like our six senses, right? So the technology of intuition, the technology of compassion, like how these things that are such common words, empathy, intuition, compassion, how they have this just depth of dimension that become like superpowers that can act as if a technology. I really loved what you were saying about how she was shape-shifting. I mean, how the character, she shape-shifted and she could feel what it was like to be in all these different bodies and forms, and that compassion that creates, and the power that creates, and the wisdom that creates to feel and see and perceive through someone else's eyes. To me, that's the only way we'll come together, is if we can develop that type of higher perspective empathy that comes from the cultivation of spiritual practice and really opening our awareness to other people. And I wanted to ask you just the choice of what that represented in the book, and what you see that as maybe a metaphor of for us today.
Well, I love both of your reflections on it. Yeah, I mean, the Metamorphosis Project really was the idea that in order for, human beings to continue to live on the planet at this historical juncture, that we needed to become more, we needed to evolve, and we needed to be more bioresonant with the planet. And by that is going into the interconnectivity with all life itself. So the representation of her first shape-shifting into all the roles of the woman, like you said, that's part of like the multi-faced goddess, and the ability to understand that we are unique souls and beings, but we also are the mirrors of our sister, and we are one with our sister. We're many and we're one. That cusp point. Later in the book, she morphs into different species and does that, and that's representative, of course, of the interconnection with nature, with life, and with the expressions of Gaia. And then with her abilities, she's able then to transmute disease. And these are all things, if you go into the spiritual traditions of many different cultures, that the deeper you go in, we remember this ability to self-heal, to collectively heal, to work with both spirit but also with material. And within the framework of being souls that are born and that die. We're here for such a short time, really, within one lifetime. I feel I've always been very interested in the spiritual technologies, so to speak, and I feel that that's our way forward.
In cultivating those spiritual technologies in ourselves.
Yeah.
It's I talked to somebody the other day, and he's a man, he's a really special human being, and he and I were talking about these times, and I said, like it is the change is upon us. Like we are transforming, whether we'll be in our lifetimes or in 1,000 years, we impact it. We are so important. And he responded, I don't like your 1,000-year timeline. I don't appreciate that. But even that though is so cool to me. Like even if we don't see the golden age, the beautiful change, but we see kind of some destruction and some new planting of seeds of cultivation, to me that's just, it's movement.
Yeah, we're setting the field for what is to come, right? Yes. And there's beneficence in that. There's, let us go forward with a magnanimous spirit.
Yeah.
And maybe we won't see it in our lifetime. I hope we do see shifts and movements, and I feel like we are already. But, in the Bhagavad Gita, over and over again, what it says is, don't be attached to the fruits of your actions. Don't be attached to the fruits of your actions. But also seed your actions from that place of intention to do well for the benefit of all.
And I think the part of the feminine that we're also reclaiming, that's essential for human life to survive, is the aspect of death and rebirth, letting go, grieving, being okay with those types of emotions versus trying to numb them, build on top of them, distract ourselves from them, but really be okay with the process of letting go. And that feels very resonant with that in this conversation.
I mean, I sense that probably many of us here have already gone through many deaths, many petite morts, maybe large deaths within this lifetime, to be here and sitting here And, I remember at points on the path, I go, I wonder if I'm going to be able to breathe the next breath. You go down and you go through that dark night of the soul. You go through the underworld and you're reborn again, as they show in so many of the mystery traditions. And you breathe the next breath, and you come back with some gifts that you can begin to share, or you can cultivate more. And I think if we are not fearful of death, I think all of us are in a very powerful place right now to bring life to the world.
Hi. Okay, so who would like to come on here and ask some questions to Sarah Drew, or comment or speak anything? If you want to raise your hand, there's a raise your hand function. You can go to participants down below. And when you click participants on the right hand side, something will pop up, and then you can choose the button that says raise hand.
I have Terry come on. Hi, Terry.
Hi. I would like to submit a loving request, since there's so many of us from all over the world, and you all are just touching my heart. But I would like for us to do something intentional, to channel directly and string through who we are. So everyone has their own method of energy work. But I actually work with the grid of the planet and have for decades. And I would love for all of us to connect and use who we are to channel loving energy to help transform Mother Earth and humanity at this time. I mean, we all have our own unique wisdom and our own unique energy work. I'm not going to say maybe what that should look like for everyone, but I would like for us to intentionally do something like that together, please.
We are planning at the end of this in about 25 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes. Sarah was going to lead us in an experience of prayer, so maybe that would be a good time for us to do that.
I would love that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terry.
Mm.
Okay, I'm gonna bring on Nina. Hello, Nina.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank
Oh.
You're a little low, so maybe if you could speak up a bit.
Okay, will do. I thought I would ask Sarah, because it may be useful for many on the call, about any counsel you might offer in response to the question, what is mine to do? Because I find myself asking and listening for guidance about that a lot, even though there's tons I could do. I'm curious what you would say, dear Sarah.
First of all, Nina, again, so honored you're here. And for everyone here, Nina has been a mentor and a guide to me. So just a embodied goddess in her own right, in the eyes of many and for me. I lay it in front of the altar of the goddess. And I had an interesting story that when Gaia Codex, I'd spent like maybe 4 or 5 months writing it. And I usually don't get things stolen, but I had my computer stolen and I had no backups of the book. And it was such an interesting juncture at that point. This was many years ago when I was just starting to write it. And where I really needed to lay it on the altar of the goddess and saying, Mother, I'm here. If this is mine to do, please show me the way, please show me the way forward on this. But I had to really give it up too and see if it was mine. And what happened is there was a set of fortuitous circumstances where 3 days later I received a check of a substantial amount that actually would allow me to take time off to write it. And I started again from the beginning, figuring that what had been lost was not meant to be on the final pages. I guess the answer on that is I always just completely offer it up to her. And sometimes she'll say, nope, that's not yours. Maybe pass it on to somebody else. And I think as women, we're so abundant, right? So we have so many things. So it's often, I know you are too, Nina, just passing things on to others that aren't mine. But the things that are mine grab me to where I can't, it almost becomes a pain if I'm not doing something about it, like a heaviness. And then when I do something about it, there's a relief. And they really grab me, somatically and otherwise, where I have to do it.
Well, I would just add, for anyone who's not read the book, it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. Thank you.
Thanks, Nina.
Mhm.
Thank you, Nina. I'm going to bring on Elizabeth.
Hi, it's Elspeth, actually.
Elspeth.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for offering this and this gathering. I wasn't going to ask anything, but while you were talking, there was something that happened today that came up, and for some reason I just feel drawn to ask about it, and I don't really know why. So I thought I would just kind of offer it and see if anything comes of it. I don't know why my intuition is just giving me weird signals. So today I was doing some energy practice. And this has never happened before, but this very clear image came to me while I was doing this movement of a goddess with many arms, as like me as this goddess with many arms. And I know that she exists in many traditions, and I just wanted to see if you had anything to say about that.
Probably all three of us do. I would just love to maybe offer or suggest, I've been working with her, gosh, almost 20 years now. The Lalita Sahasrara is the 1,000 names of the goddess, and it's a Hindu tantric tradition. But and it's interesting you said that, because I just started going back into her over this last week, very slowly, like contemplating maybe 5 of the qualities a day. And it goes from everything of the goddess being, the birth, the mother and the womb of the cosmos, to her of the beautiful breast, and then in the end she merges with her consort Shiva, and then is born again into the goddess. And it's a wonderful practice, and I would recommend it if you're called. And yes, the multi-armed goddess is there, in especially the Hindu and Buddhist tantric traditions. Who I see Josephine Jog is here, who's worked very deeply with the Tara mandala and the Buddhist practices over the years. Josephine so has a lot of wisdom around that.
Thank you. So is the practice, do you talk more about the practice in your book, or how can I find out more about this practice and how to go about it?
Yeah, You can contact me directly, and I can send you some links for like a book you can start to work with. And if you're drawn to it, you know, there's a wonderful book which is the 1,000 Names of the Goddess, which you can get on Amazon.
Maybe
And
we can connect with you on Instagram. So Sarah Drew, what's your handle again?
Sarah Drew Muse.
Sarah Drew Muse.
Mm-hmm.
Send her a DM.
Yeah, I'm happy to share what I've learned so far.
Thank you.
Very cool. Okay, Marie, I'm going to bring you on.
Hi. I was wondering, so I think my question is very simple. I was wondering how I can have more compassion for myself, because I'm like really struggling with this. I feel like this is something, like I'm trying to connect more with my feminine energy at the moment, but I tell my friends, be compassionate with yourself, be easygoing, and like with yourself, and don't be too hard, but I can't do it with myself. Like every time I do something the wrong way, I start beating myself up, and it's really, really hard, and I'm trying to change. And I was wondering if you have any, or if you guys have any tips on how to handle that.
Sarah, do you want to go first? I have something I can share.
Yeah, I was feeling that you were gonna take it. Go ahead.
Well, first I want to ask you, do you have trauma in your history? Have you had an experience in your life that has left a traumatic imprint?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So likely there's energy and charge there. We store our traumas kind of in a loop, and they hang out in our body and our hearts. And when we're storing things that haven't fully been integrated, experiences, stories, traumatic imprints that haven't fully been integrated, it can be hard to feel love for ourselves and compassion for ourselves. So my suggestion first would be to either work with somebody, a beautiful person, on that trauma, or there's also you could also work on that within Global Sisterhood. In a few months, we have a program called Wounds to Wisdom that might help a lot. It's a very compassion-filled, beautiful sister circle journey of really doing that deeper trauma work and looking at the gifts and the purpose, the reason why we experience that life lesson, so we can birth our true gifts into the world. And it's a lot about compassion and the wisdom of compassion. So first, I would just really acknowledge yourself that you've been hurt. You know, you've been hurt, and of course you've developed certain things that you might be judging about yourself, because when we're hurt, we cope, right? And so I understand completely about what that feels like. And I have been doing trauma work for myself continually over the years as I pop up to something, or something comes up to my awareness that feels icky or stuck, that I'm having trouble loving inside of myself. And I think it's a journey that we're all on. So patience, a lot of patience, and just really acknowledging that you've been hurt, right? And feeling that even the little girl in you that deserves that love.
Thank you.
I think we'll have one more question and then we'll close with the meditation. So I'm going to bring on Therese.
Yay. I just texted, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah? I just texted a little bit of thing too because of Marie Josephine. I had a meltdown last night, and I have, you know, we're probably all having meltdowns all day, every day in different ways, different degrees. I had a bad one last night, and I took a late night shower, and something I learned to do, whether you're taking a hot bath or a hot shower, you know, when the shower's done, I turn it off and I crouch down in the fetal position. You can do this in a bath. I wrap my loving arms around myself. I acknowledge the pain, whatever it is, even if I can't name it. It could be a triggering to pain from a previous lifetime. You know, it almost doesn't even matter the detail, but I acknowledge. And I had, for the first 3 years of my life, I had trauma, and different intervals of my life since then. I'm turning 60 in July. I've had trauma, and I've learned this from a number of professionals as well as my own experience. I wrap my loving arms around myself. I say, I am in pain, and I talk to my inner child, whether she's 1 or 3 or 16 or 42. I talk to that inner baby Therese, especially the baby, and I tell her, oh, baby, I feel you. I know you're here. I know you're in pain. I know you hurt. And in that moment, simultaneously, I drop into my heart center on the first breath. I connect with my higher self in the second breath. And then I bring that all together in my own inner circle with these hurt children within me, these hurt women within me. And I say, I am here for you now. It's going to be okay. We're going to be okay. I love you. I am here for you. And we are going to handle this like we always do, like we always will, because we chose to be here and we have things to do. And we will know on our path, as these difficulties come up, we will know how to progress if we stay in that heart center and listen to Source and understand. But I am here for you. I'm loving you here now. And I rock with myself, and the tears pour as long as I need to. We are our own balm. This we do, can do, will do always. And because we can do it for ourselves, that makes it possible for us to do it for others. That's the only way we could. Thank you. Love you guys so much. This is so important, what you're doing. It's so important. Thank you.
Preach, sister, preach. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
So that was our last question. Thank you all so much for being here. This was so special. Sarah, thank you to you. Thank you for bringing your whole self here. Magical being. And I'm going to pass it off to you to close. So if there's any last words you want to share with the women on this call, the Global Sisterhood, and then for you to bring us into whatever else you feel called before we close.
Yeah, I'm just really in deep gratitude that we're all gathered here, and that we're gathered here with our collective wisdom that is emergent. I think in closing, I just really want to evoke our prayer for our knowing of being in resonance with our Mother Earth and our Mother Gaia. And just remembering that we are born of her, we return to her, and the dream of what she is ever evolving, and we are part of that creation. And I want to seed, as we move forward, that together we can help birth a world where her clean streams and bountiful forest and abundance of fresh, good food is available to all. That we're once again living in communities where there's deep interconnection, and we're back in with the rituals and cycles of her rhythms as part of our rhythms. And that the feminine and the seed of the sacred that each of us holds really comes into full flower, and the seeds that each one of us hold as women, these seeds of creativity and wisdom that many of you have already articulated into the world but are continuing to flower at this time, may they really join forward and together and be of benefit to all beings. And the cessation of suffering, that people will know peace and wellness and harmony. I'm so grateful, and so grateful to be here with Global Sisterhood, and just prayers of blessings and abundance, and all the many sisters who have yet to discover you. May there be many, many more that will join in this movement and join in our movement of movements. Thank you.
So, just taking a few more breaths after that prayer, connecting with, honoring the request and connecting with the energy grid of the planet, and really anchoring this prayer in our hearts and letting it vibrate all around us. As we are in different parts of the world, let our hearts' bioenergetic field radiate around us and to our neighborhoods. Points of light, radiating love and healing and well-being, consciousness. And with that, we can open our eyes. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you to every woman who is on this call and who's a part of this mission, this movement that really does feel like the movement of Mother Gaia, the Mother, the Divine Mother, and that is awakening all of us. And so we really appreciate the container that was held tonight, that we all brought forth with our love and our presence and our interest. And Sarah, you're such a gift. We love that you're a part of our sisterhood. We're so excited to see you. And really, you articulate. It's just you know when you find a fellow priestess. And that was one question I wanted to ask you, was about the word priestess, because I feel like there's a modern twist to it, of a woman who's and ever awakening and devoting her life to all of that we're talking about. And so from one priestess to another, and to all the priestesses here, humbly bow in reverence to all of you, to your power, to your beauty. And wanted to invite everyone, if you have not read Gaia Codex, Sarah is offering it digitally for, it was like $2. $2, and we sent it out to you in the email that had the Zoom link, and we'll send it out with the recording. So will grip you, it will take you in. It's a quick read. Unfortunately, I wanted it to last a long time. I might even reread it again. And for those of you who, after you read this book, as you're reading it, just as a little announcement coming up, we have a program coming soon that will be calling us all forth, called Moon School. And it is about embodiment and realignment in these times, so that we can have our clarity and feminine power really elevated during these times. So more to come on Moon School. And that's all I've got. Shayna?
Yeah, that's it. We'll be sending an email out after this with the recording and the link to the book. And we are just so grateful to have you a part of this Global Sisterhood. Thank you.
Thanks.
Global Sisterhood tradition, we take everyone off mute so we can all say hi.
Bye.
Bye. Bye and bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Much love, peace, prosperity,
Blessings.
blessings for
Love,
all.
peace, and prosperity. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Sarah.
That's cool.
Awesome.